Welcome back to another episode of Front Row Cinema, a movie podcast for movie lovers by movie lovers. I'm your host, TJ Trimboli, and with me, as always, my co-host. I got the lead singer of the Prisoner of Azkaban in the house tonight, Mr. James O'Reilly.
Yeah, I wish I had a quick-witted debut album for you, but I got nothing.
You got nothing? The Dementors, the demented Dementors.
Oh no, that's right. I said this the other day. Dementor's Kiss. Yeah, that's our
There
hit
you go.
single.
That's not a bad one. Dementor's Kiss. You got Sirius Black on the drums, Howling at the Moon. And each week we take a look at my 1,000 movies I've seen in theaters and we see how well it's aged, along with the hype surrounding the film, its box office analysis, and legacy in the film industry. So if you enjoy this kind of content, hit that sub button on YouTube. Leave that 5-star review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. It's how you help the channel grow. Jim, what are we watching tonight?
We're watching Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban.
Harry Potter. That's right, the 2004 fantasy film directed by who did you say it was so many episodes ago? You were convinced Denis
Uh,
Villeneuve taking
you
the stab
know,
at this one?
not him, not him. I think
No.
I am a filthy casual, and I get prestige directors mixed up in my head sometimes. And it's
Alfonso
actually directed
Cuarón.
by Alfonso Cuarón,
Yeah,
however you say his name.
that's who we were going for. Written by Steve Kloves and starring Daniel Radcliffe, Emma Watson, Rupert Grint, and character actor extraordinaire Gary Oldman. Now, Jim, before we really dive into anything else, there's one quick thing I have to say about this. There was one review, it wasn't in the IMDb reviews, so I could bring it up now, but I saw it somewhere else where some person had the gall to question if Gary Oldman had the chops to play Sirius Black.
That is a ridiculous thing that someone said. Where was that?
It was on I forget where I saw it. I don't know if it was like IGN or it might have been through Letterboxd, but I thought it was something where it was somebody writing like right before the movie was about to come out. And they were like discussing like the movie getting ready to come out, and they were like, I don't know if Gary Oldman's got the chops for a Sirius Black. And I was like, it's on site for that person. Like if I ever see them on a street corner, like on
Yeah.
site.
I mean, I think this is a problem that Gary Oldman has in general. It's just that especially in 2004, people of a certain age, myself included, didn't really know who Gary Oldman like was because he always looks different in every movie. You know what I mean? Like in 2004, you know who Brad Pitt is because he's always like got his shirt off and he's looking hot in movies and he's like a big movie star. Whereas Gary Oldman's always under like pounds and pounds of makeup.
Man, is a thespian, a true thespian of the highest regard. Yeah, I
Yeah.
had to say, I think this might be for 2004 the first movie that I saw him in. It's
Yeah,
quite
but
possible.
the point is, well, yeah, it's the first one we've done for sure, I think, right?
Yeah, definitely the first one we've done. Actually, no, I think I saw Fifth Element before this, but I had no idea who, like you said, I had no idea who Gary Oldman even was at that point.
Right. What I'm trying to say is Gary Oldman is such a chameleon, you wouldn't know if you had seen him in a movie before.
Yeah, because he
Like,
changes it every time. Actually, that's true because we saw Air Force One before that.
right. Like the
Was
fact
this?
that you aren't sure if it's the first Gary Oldman movie you saw is like so on brand for Gary
Jim,
Oldman.
there's a chance that every movie we've done so far in this podcast had Gary Oldman in it. We just
Right.
don't
At some in some way, shape, or
know.
form, yeah.
That's why he is the chameleon. He
What
is he is that guy.
what year did Tiptoes come out?
Yeah.
Because I
It had to
think
be
that
around this. I think it was like 2000. I think it was early 2000s if I had to guess. I'm
yeah,
going to
let me
guess. I'm going to go
see.
2003. Final answer, Alex.
2002.
Fuck.
So I missed it for my pick as well. I can no longer pick Tiptoes.
So that thank God that you didn't because I don't
Although
know.
honestly, we'll talk about it because maybe for our 100th episode, I'll bend the rules a little bit.
Oh no. I
But
don't, I
yeah,
don't, I
anyway.
don't know if I could stomach that bad boy. But yeah, that man is the chameleon. I think the first thing that I can actually remember, like seeing as close to what he looks like as possible, is Batman Begins, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's
Like they just
definitely
give him a
into
mustache.
movies. Right, right. He just has a mustache on that one. He is pretty Gary Oldman looking, yeah.
Yeah.
There's some before that though where he doesn't have a ton of makeup on from like the 80s, but I don't think either one of us would have seen them at that point, you know?
This point, yeah, no, definitely not. Like I didn't even see because he looks him in Leon the Professional, but I didn't see that until like a few years ago.
Right,
So like all those movies pre this, I didn't see until way after Harry Potter.
for sure.
That's why he's the GOAT, baby.
He
Now,
played
Jim,
the only other one I can see, and I'm not gonna do him in IMDb because there's like a million credits. So the only other one I can see that's like somewhat memorable from the 80s is Sid and Nancy.
actually still have yet to see that in my life.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, so I couldn't even tell.
It's worth checking out, I think.
Yeah, I just think I haven't even been able to come up. Well, Jim, don't you remember when we watched that stellar classic of his, Romeo is Bleeding?
Vaguely. Vaguely.
You know why you say vaguely? Because both of us fell asleep during it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it was horrible.
That sounds about right.
No, we don't have a DVD cover to go for a log line here because I have a box set of Harry Potter and they don't put any log lines on the box set. So we have to turn to the internet. I thought actually maybe do I just bust out the hardcover here and we'll
I
just
would.
read.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
You
Take
want me to
a
just
wow, that cover brings me
yeah.
back,
You
dude.
like that? Yeah, you like that hardcover? I thought I'd just
I
read
definitely owned that copy of that book for sure.
yeah, I'll just read excerpts from this as the log line. That should work, right?
Yeah, why not? Turn to
Yeah,
page
yeah, I'm gonna turn
85.
to page actually opened up to 87. I was close, Jim.
All
We
right,
were
I'll
close.
take 87. That's
It
fine.
was it, it was close. Nothing. That chapter is called the Dementor. Oh, right after your band, bro.
Ah,
It
yeah.
all it always comes back. But all right, we're gonna do our log line off of the jacket sleeve of Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban book here. For 12 long years, the dread fortress of Azkaban held an infamous prisoner named Sirius Black. Convicted of killing 13 people with a single curse, he was said to be the heir apparent to the Dark Lord Voldemort. Now, he has escaped, leaving only two clues as to where he might be headed. Harry Potter's defeat of you-know-who was Black's downfall as well, and the Azkaban guards heard Black muttering in his sleep, "He's at Hogwarts! He's at Hogwarts!" Harry Potter isn't safe, not even within the walls of his magical school, surrounded by his friends, because on top of it all, there may well be a traitor midst.
Nice. That's
Nice.
honestly way better than any of the ones we've read on the show so far.
That was really good. The one I was going to pull up off the internet literally just says the third year of their study at Hogwarts.
I mean, also true, but not quite as engaging.
Not quite as in depth there, but they both had their moments there. Um, Now Jim, I've got the ticket stub here. I'm curious to see your memory. Do you think were you at this movie with us? Do you think you were here? I got the names on the back, but
I'm
I'm
pretty sure
curious.
I did see this with you guys. I know I saw this in theaters, and I can't think who else it would have been with.
All right, so you're saying you were there.
I think so.
All
If
right.
it's the opposite this week where I think I was there and I wasn't there, I'm starting to question everything, dude.
All right, Jim. We had on the docket for coming to see Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, Ryan, Brendan, and last but certainly not least, Mr. Big Jim.
I knew it. I knew
You
it.
were
Okay.
you were in fact there. We went Friday, June 4th, the 4 p.m. show. We loved the 4 p.m. show. Like
Yeah, because it
it
was like
was
you got right out of school and we would just walk to the movie theater.
right out of school, the 4 p.m.
And
show
then
on
I would play
opening
Time
day.
Crisis for like 45 minutes and then the movie would start.
Yes, you would get your time crisis. But all right, it's cool. So you remember being there. It's nice to see that you actually remember a memory with us for once.
Oh, I mean, what of of all the movies we've seen together, according to you, by the way, I'm not conceding that we did see them together, but of all the ones we've seen together, this is so far like obviously the most memorable, right?
Yeah, what we've done so far, yeah. Well, because especially in this, we've talked about this ad nauseum in the previous two Harry Potter ones, but this is really like the franchise of us growing up. Like the books came out as we're growing up and reading them, like the movies are coming out as we're growing up and seeing them. So like this is our generational franchise, the same way that like Star Wars was to the 70s, Indiana Jones was to the 80s, like Harry Potter was that for people
Yeah.
growing up in the 2000s.
Yeah, no, that's true. Yeah. And I mean, like, I also, like, I've said this a few times on this show. Like, I, like, really loved this movie when I first saw it. So, like, I remember seeing this in theaters. You know what I mean? Like, that's a good sign that I remember. Like, that's a good sign of how much I loved it, I guess is what I would say.
Yeah, is that you
As
can you
opposed
hold
to Shrek 2, which I think was a pretty good sequel, but ultimately kind of forgettable in comparison.
forgettable for your journey to play Time Crisis at least. Um,
Exactly.
yeah, and this is another week where I remember us going to see it, but I don't remember any thrilling, exciting story other than that we just went and enjoyed another Harry Potter movie.
Yeah. Sounds
Yeah,
about right to me.
yeah. So I think with that, I think we're able to turn our attention over to that box office, Jim. Much like every other Harry Potter movie, I'm curious to see how much money this freaking made because I'm sure it's a stupid amount of money.
Numbers, dates, numbers, numbers, dates, array, dates, numbers. Show me the money.
All right. So, Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, I did check, was not a 5-day opening.
It
Just got
wasn't
a
it,
regular old domestic weekend.
it wasn't Memorial Day weekend that first weekend in June.
It was not. It's June 4th to June 6th, which, if my memory serves, is somewhere between Memorial Day and July 4th.
Yes, yes, that tracks. That tracks.
Yeah. Um, um, so it opens that weekend, June 4th to June 6th. It's gonna
What's the
open
budget look like?
against a $130 million budget.
That's not bad. Honestly, hold on.
No, compared to some of the movies we've talked about, and like we always kind of bring up at this part how safe a bet your high budget movie is, and compared to things like Troy or Van Helsing, which both spent a bunch of money, this is about as safe as a bet gets, right? This is in like Shrek
This
2 territory where it's like you have a pretty good idea that you're gonna pull in your budget and then
yeah.
some, right?
What's interesting too about that budget is you would think usually it goes, you put out your first movie, it makes a lot of money, you're going to get a bigger budget, and you're going to keep getting bigger budgets as long as those returns keep getting bigger. But the Harry Potter movies have kept their budgets pretty in line with each other, despite its crazy success. The first one cost 125 million. The second
Okay,
one actually cost less than that at only 100 million. And now this
sure.
one clocking in at 130. So to only be 5 million over from the first one, the fact that they're keeping these budgets very structured with each other, despite the crazy amount of talented people in this movie and all of the special effects is really a testament to like what they're doing here.
Yeah, I think it's very prudent of them. I think that, and so far in the first three, and I may be kind of like jumping ahead of myself a little bit here, but I think that they're pretty confident in their ability to get what they need out of that amount of money. And like, they're backed up by a really strong IP. At the time this movie comes out, this is maybe the most popular thing in the world after like Pokemon or something. You know what I mean? Like,
Definitely, if I
um,
had to guess.
and yeah, I don't know. I think you're right. I think that's a testament to their ability here, where they're like sticking to a specific kind of budget and they're still making great movies every time. So
I'm knocking it out of the park every time so far, and it
yeah, I
shows.
mean, like if this was like an IQ test, they're scoring way higher than the people who spent like $160 million to make Van Helsing, for example.
They did not do unto others before it was done unto them.
Right, right, exactly. So against that $130 million budget, it's going to open number one to $93.7 million.
That is insane. Jim,
Staggering.
93.7? Yeah, staggering. That is the third biggest opening weekend of all time, only behind Spider-Man and last month's Shrek 2. So that's huge. And it beats out Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. Like right now, they're all neck and neck. Number three, four, and five are all Harry Potter movies right now, which is
Yeah.
insane. So like
Pretty
that's
insane to think about,
that's
yeah.
a stupid amount of money. And it shows that like they were onto something by switching up that release date. Because
Yeah, I
the
was gonna
first The first two being released in November, and then switching this one up to coming out at like right the heat of the summer. Again, another prudent move by them.
Well, yeah, and this is going to be something that's going to become a theme of this episode of ours, I think. But I think it's interesting that this is one that I saw with you guys, like a bunch of buddies from high school,
Yeah.
because I think part of that switch from a Christmas movie to a summer movie is this is less of a family movie overall. This is the kind of movie, like you said, we're the perfect audience for this. When the first and the second one come out, that's a movie I'm seeing with my parents. You know what I mean? Like I'm seeing it
Yes.
with my parents and it's going to be like a Christmas, Thanksgiving kind of situation. Whereas this one, much like the characters in the movie, we're getting a little bit older. We're able to go to the movies with our friends now. We can kind of just go after school and it's fine. Um, so yeah, it makes sense. Like it's maturing as we're maturing and Harry Potter is maturing. And for that kind of movie, summer is the perfect release date.
And they knew that they would be able to break all kinds of records, Jim, because not only is that the third biggest opening of all time, that's actually the best opening weekend for June, beating Ang Lee's Hulk.
Oh no way, Ang Lee's Hulk.
See you
It's
later,
still
Hulk.
do people still call it Ang Lee's Hulk? I mean, not that people
I don't know.
talk about Ang Lee's Hulk very much, but
Jim, outside of us talking on this pod, I don't think I've ever been out in the wild and heard someone mention that Hulk ever.
it's a great movie. I enjoyed it anyway.
I honestly can't tell. I think I only watched it the one time back when it came out and never again, so I couldn't tell you one thing about it.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, I don't remember it much either. I just remember that thinking Eric Bana was back after Troy because he was down bad after Ang Lee's Hulk.
Or Eric Bana.
But back to Harry Potter. Like I said, it opens number one, 93.7 million. It beats out the third week of Shrek, which is down to 37.9, and the second week of last week's movie, Day After Tomorrow,
Nice.
after its staggering near 60% drop. And we've talked about this week a bunch because we've done like most of the movies in the top five. The only other movie in the top five we haven't done, I mention every week, Raising Helen.
Jesus. Yeah, can we get far enough that that just disappears? I don't hear
I
about this
don't,
anymore from you.
time will tell, my friend. We'll see how many weeks in a row I can mention Raising Helen. Going into weekend two, we're going to see a pretty large drop, 62.7%.
Stands to
Um,
reason when you're the third highest grossing movie of all time. Like you're gonna
right,
have a pretty decent second week drop.
right. We've brought this up a couple of times with movies that had huge drops on low weeks. If you start with almost $100 million, it's reasonable to assume you're going to have a huge drop because most of the people who are interested in your movie already saw it, right? Like they all went opening weekend, and that's how you made almost $100 million.
I gotta say though, I am shocked that we are getting like deep into this now with a lot of big movies that are coming out, and we haven't seen another 100 million opening outside of Spider-Man and Shrek.
Yeah, I mean that's something that holds for a while, if I remember correctly. There gets a point in the 2000s where it becomes kind of commonplace to see 100 plus million, but at least for the time, it was still pretty rare. And like you said, we're seeing that like bore out in when we go over these.
You would think Harry Potter would be a slam dunk to do it.
Yeah, you would think, right? Yeah. But so it's gonna beat out that week the Chronicles of Riddick. We're bringing that up for
Ooh.
another week.
Ooh. I
Because
know you're
again,
still hold. Yeah, I know you still got that one in the back pocket.
strong contender for my pick. Chronicles of Riddick is like one of the fever dreamiest movies ever. And then like yeah, Shrek 2's in here. We've already talked about what I remember to be next week's movie. Garfield is in here down in fourth. So let's just keep chugging along.
Oh yeah.
Uh, Going into the third week of Harry Potter, 48.4% drop. It's gonna drop down to third for 18 and some change. 18 million and some change.
Okay, still good.
It's gonna the number one movie this week, I am sure, is our episode 2 weeks from now because this is
Okay.
another one I remember seeing with you guys.
Okay.
Dodgeball, a true underdog story. It comes in
Oh
number
yeah.
one, in
Yep.
first.
Yep. Jim put that on the docket.
Yeah, nice, nice. That'll be a fun one to go back to. I haven't seen that movie in a while, but I remember thinking it's really funny.
And you only have to suffer through 1 week of Garfield to get there.
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty big ask. You're really underselling how much suffering that's going to be. You're going to suffer and then you're going to be happy about it? Question mark.
Jim, didn't you learn about this in the Passion last week? That's what this is all about, all right?
Yeah,
You
yeah. Did
suffer
you
and then you reap the benefits.
did you not remember that line from The Prisoner of Azkaban when they're doing the tea
Yeah,
readings?
yeah.
Okay. Uh, Also beating out Harry Potter that week, the Tom Hanks vehicle, The Terminal.
Nice.
And then let's just keep chugging along. This is a lot easier when we're going week to week, honestly. I like this a lot more. Uh, going into weekend 4, Harry Potter is going to drop down into 6th place.
Oh boy.
37.6% drop to 11.2 million. And then let's just ride this out of the top 10. Oh, that's 4th of July. Oh no, sorry. This weekend's 4th of July weekend, weekend
This
5.
guy.
Yeah. I know I said it was easier because it's got the name in there, but it's not as easy as you think. um, Going into weekend 5, it's gonna drop down to 7th. It does pretty much not a lot for that holiday weekend. It only pulls in 8.5 for the whole holiday. Um, which I think includes Monday, like the 2nd to the 5th, because the 5th is, I guess, like the day observed, which just when you thought holidays were easy, they start.
Day observed? What?
Yeah, like, don't
The
people
thing?
get off? People would get off for July 5th if the
Oh,
4th is a
because the
Sunday.
fourth is on a Sunday.
Right, right. So,
Oh,
like, the
okay.
holiday weekend is from the 2nd to the 5th, is what's listed here.
I don't know that that's what they call that, like a day observed.
Yeah, because it's not, you can't get off for, you can't have a day off for July 4th. Like, it can't be called July 4th if it's July 5th, right? That doesn't make any sense. So you're observing July 4th on the 5th.
Okay.
And the rule is everybody just has to stand and stare at their calendars and observe it.
Damn, I've been doing it wrong all this time.
Yeah,
I just have to stand there and salute my calendar.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Bonus points if you draw American flags all over it. Um,
Joke's
Not
on
doing
you,
much
man.
for
My
that.
calendar is an American flag.
Yeah, right. I'm always just drawing American flags on everything, actually. Going into weekend 6, we're going to be out of the top 10. It's going to drop down
Oh,
to 11th place,
damn.
$4.1 million dollars if we round up.
It's crazy that you can really feel how stacked of a summer 2004 feels because there was never a moment where that had a sustained like I'll hang around in like fourth or fifth for like a couple of weeks. It just like week over week slowly just like sunk down the list as more and more big heavy hitters came out.
Yeah, right, which is also part of the territory, like you're saying, when you switch from November to June, instead of just running through the wasteland that we've mentioned a bunch of times that is January and February, you're going head to head with like huge movies basically week in and week out in 2004.
Yeah, and it shows because I'm pretty sure, yeah, Chamber of Secrets did 8 weeks in the top 10, and
Right.
Sorcerer's Stone did 9 weeks. So like,
Right, but how many of those times do we get down to like, and in weekend 8 it's in 8th place with like 3 million. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
no,
Like,
but you're right that it coming out over Thanksgiving gives it better leg room because not only do you have those few weeks in December before Christmas where not a lot's coming out, so Harry Potter is going to run roughshed, but then it gets that boost over the Christmas season going into January where it can just
right.
hang, it has a lot more breathing room than the summer does because nothing is more crowded than that May, June, July slate.
Yeah, and I mean, based upon what we've seen so far, I'm pretty sure I mean, we didn't go too in depth with it this week, but maybe in like later weeks when we're doing a lot of these movies, because I'm pretty sure we're gonna have a bunch in a row. We'll talk a little bit more about it.
Yeah, for sure. because it's definitely super interesting to see that.
Yeah, and I mean, like, the thing is, totals wise, I'm interested to see how this stacks up against the other two, because it doesn't do bad totals wise, but I think off the top of my head, it does a little bit worse than the other two. Domestic, it finishes with 249.5 million.
Oh, please. You said what, 249?
49.5.
Yeah, so domestically, that's putting us at the number 16 spot, which is behind Chamber of Secrets 262 and way behind Sorcerer's Stones 317.
Right. International, it's going to pull in 546.1
Okay.
for a worldwide total of $795.6 million. dollars.
So 795.6 is good enough for the number 11 spot. And yeah, definitely coming in as the lowest totals for a Harry Potter movie so far. Chamber of Secrets grosses 879 and Sorcerer's Stone grosses 974. So
Right.
maybe they get a little cautious of the fact that they made that switch to the summer because now they're making less money because they're only hanging around for, 5 weeks in the top 10 as opposed to 9 weeks in the top.
Yeah, I mean, maybe, but I think that this is part of a long-term strategy. And again, this is going to become like a theme of this episode, but I think that they're pretty aware at this point, based upon like the amount of Harry Potter books that have come out and where they probably have a pretty good idea of where the series is heading, right?
Yeah.
They know that this isn't going to be a movie that your mom takes you to Christmas on Christmas forever, right? Like, if only just because by the time the next one comes out, we're going to be like 15 years old, 16 years old, and we're not going to want to go to the see it with our moms. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
so
No,
like
no.
I think this is a pretty calculated decision on their part, and it's like it is a huge shifting of gears, like not just in terms of like when they're releasing it, but they know that their target audience is getting older, and they know like you're gonna see, and again, we'll talk about this later, but they make a lot of decisions in this movie that I think sets them up for the next, what is it, like 6 or 7 movies versus well, I guess less than that because there's only 8 of them
Just gonna
total.
say, yeah.
But for the next
Math is
handful of
hard.
movies, yeah, it is just like knowing when July 4th is. It's gonna set them up for success for the next like handful of these in a way that I think ends up being very important to them. So maybe they make a little bit less now, but I think in the long run, this is a great move.
No, no, no. And I agree with you that I think it still is a good move, despite the fact that it came in as the lowest one so far. But also, like, if you really put it into context, like, even though it's the lowest Harry Potter movie, it still does better than most of the movies released for 2004. So that domestic gross that you said was the sixth for the year domestically here in the United States. That
Yeah,
five whatever it was first international. So it was the highest grossing international movie of the year for 2004. So even though
right,
you're coming in as the
right.
lowest, you're still more successful than any other movie coming out globally. So like you still have a phenomenon on your hand. And
Yeah, exactly.
and that worldwide total is the second highest of 2004 behind only Shrek 2. And there's a lot of big heavy hitters that come out for 2004. So it's still a huge success. And also
Yeah,
when
it
you think
still
about
is.
it, off of a $130 million budget, like it's a win.
Right,
It's a win.
right.
It's all a win.
And it's not like the beauty of a thing like Harry Potter and having like a strong IP behind you is it's not like Prisoner of Azkaban maybe not being the most popular one is gonna make Harry Potter any less of a phenomenon, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Whereas if Van Helsing, if nobody goes and sees it, you're kind of screwed and you're never making another one of these. Like Harry Potter's not going anywhere anytime soon.
Like it's around to stay. And everyone knows it's not going anywhere. Like they're getting every movie off of these books. It's happening.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and they know because not only commercially but critically, this movie is a whopping success.
Yeah, has to
91%
be.
from the critics, 86% from the audience, a 7.9 from IMDb, and the A cinema score.
Oh baby,
So it
beating the
gets
A
there.
minus.
It beats
Tremendous.
the A minus, gets the A cinema score. Not good enough to get the A plus that the Passion got, but we'll take our wins where we can get them.
Yeah, I mean the deck was stacked for that one. There's nobody like anybody who was buying a ticket to the Passion of the Christ, there's no way they were gonna give it a bad score.
Listen, what is Harry Potter if not a modern day parable of Jesus Christ?
Um, I mean, yeah, sure, why not?
We're gonna use that every week. It never
Yeah,
gets old.
right. I mean, he does come back from the dead at one point, I'm pretty sure, so you're not too far off.
He survived the killing curse. Like, come on.
Yeah, well, no, but he like literally dies, if I remember correctly. I don't know. We'll probably talk about it at
Well,
some
yeah,
point. This
we'll
episode
get, we'll
might
get
not be
there.
the one
Come
to
on,
get
you're
into it.
burying the lead here, guy. What are we doing? And then, as always, Jim, I got some user reviews for you.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I don't oh boy yourself too hard so far though, because of all the movies we've done so far, I think these are the least crazy people we've come across so far.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see that.
Yeah, I scoured these reviews, and it was tough to find some nut jobs.
Yeah, I have a feeling my guess would be that this is a lot of people on the 10-star side who know what house they're in. And and a lot of people on the 1-star side who are just kind of like hipstery, like I don't like franchises. Like and neither like what like those things are both kind of like stereotypes, but they're not quite as crazy as like some of the other stuff we've read.
Like, I didn't find anyone wishing death on each other. There wasn't
Right,
any
right.
like you're an idiot. It was mostly just nerds.
Yeah. Well,
But
okay, which may be kind of interesting. We'll
maybe
see.
but so I got a couple here. And we'll dive into a few of these bad boys. This first person writes, "Where do I even start? This movie may be good for those that have not read the books, but this movie really needs to be redone. Does J.K. Rowling not care about her fans anymore? How could she approve this? They cut out so much. Like, Christmas? If you have read the books, you will hate this movie as a Harry Potter movie. It makes a good movie, just not a Harry Potter movie. They need to get the old director back because this one must not have read any of the Harry Potter books or was just so high on his horse he thought he could change every little detail and add pointless crap. If you liked Harry Potter, especially the third book, which was my favorite book, do not watch this movie. I have to reread the book now because the movie was so bad. Actually, go see it, and then we should all write J.K. Rowling a big letter about how garbage it is."
I can't believe that I didn't see the this is nothing like the book
Book.
person
Yeah, I
coming.
was gonna
How did I
say,
miss that?
yeah,
It's such an easy one.
yeah, that was a layup one for you, and you totally glossed
Yeah,
right over it.
it really was. And like I still think that these people are pretty crazy. I still think that like I know it's not quite the same as like wishing death upon somebody, but we've talked about this a couple times and like it's gotten so much further out of control here in the present in 2025, but like the ownership that fans think they have over things and especially adaptations blows my mind. Like yeah,
Nuts.
like I don't know if Alfonso Cuarón's ever read a Harry Potter book before, but I know that they paid him to direct a movie and he's gonna direct his movie. Like that's literally what they paid him to do. You know what I mean?
Also,
Like
know that he's like one of the best like auteur directors like we have working. Like he's gonna make a good movie. Like just because it's not
yeah.
like
And I don't know,
exactly how you pictured it in your head.
do you think that this movie that came out in June, which we've discussed now at length in multiple episodes, maybe skipped Christmas on purpose? Like, do you think maybe that was like part of what they were doing? I don't know, maybe.
Quite possible, but yeah, they hit some couple crazy notes. The bringing up Christmas as the holiday that was dropped. Like I wonder what do they celebrate?
Yeah. This is if the Passion of the Christ was the opening salvo in the world on Christmas, this is like the counterattack.
They're
And they're
like,
like,
and now we'll
yeah, well,
suddenly start leaving Christmas out of movies.
right. We'll see your Passion of the Christ, and guess what's not in Harry Potter anymore?
Oh my God. Which is so funny because they already hate Harry Potter for being like an attack on like Christianity because they're just like witches and warlocks are not a thing for here. Like
Yeah, yeah.
that's all
No,
the
but
work
like
of the devil.
exactly. But I really mean it. Like I think that it makes a lot of sense to me that in the Christmas time releases and in the kids version of these movies, they hype up Christmas a lot because you're probably sitting in the theater with your parents on like December 13th. You know what I mean? Uh, it doesn't need to be there in the June movie that I'm seeing with my buds.
I mean, I could see that, I can also see what it most likely probably was we have a big, huge book here. Nothing really important happens at Christmas that's worth putting in here. Like, just cut it. We
Right,
need time. We need to save
right.
time here. There's no need to put this in here.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, no, for sure. But like the important thing that happens at Christmas in the first two movies is that the audience feels like it's Christmas, which matters if you're releasing your movie on like November 28th. You know what I mean?
Fair, very fair. We got our next person here, and they write, someone who hasn't read the book might say, this is a good movie, or even the best Potter movie ever. But anyone who knows the book will surely be disappointed. The most scenes happen in another time, another place, with other persons, or have never took place. But even worse than that is that Hogwarts has become a different castle altogether. And in the first two movies, Hogwarts is flat and wide, and now it's in mountain style. Where's the continuity? In my opinion, the movie awful, but there is hope for the next one. The director will be someone else. Let's hope this guy read the books before he starts his work.
I literally I hate these people more than any people in the world. Like you are
You got a
such
hill in
a
there now?
nerd, bro. You are such a nerd. Was
Suddenly there's
he
mountain ranges?
Did I hear that right? He was mad about the continuity of the establishing shots of Hogwarts. Is that what he said?
This guy was a big topography fan and he was very upset with all the mountain ranges showing up.
Yeah. That's so stupid, dude. I can't take these people. I hate all of them so much. And I got news for all of them. I read The Prisoner of Azkaban, and I did say that this was the best Harry Potter movie at the time, and I still say so now, sir. So what do you say about that?
So take that guy.
Yeah.
What his name was Fire Un Wolf.
Fucking nerd, dude. I
Yeah,
can't stand it.
yeah, these nerds. Well, I got two more crazy one-star nerds for you, Jim, and they'll continue. This person writes, don't expect much magic or cute details from this magical life. You are doomed to watch a dark, empty movie filled with cruelty. If by any chance you are a ferret lover, don't even come close to the advertisement for Harry Potter 3. What you will see at some point is at least a dozen dead ferrets hanging from Hagrid's shoulder, and Hermione feeding a hippogriff with those. Ferrets are the third most popular pet in the world after dogs and cats. Why not show a dozen dead cat bodies? This is a horror movie. I wouldn't even recommend it to watch for children, especially if you have a pet ferret in your household. As for the story, unfortunately, there isn't one.
I'm gonna need to check the numbers on that ferret thing because that doesn't seem right. That the ferrets are the third most popular pets after cats and dogs. That seems made up for
Can we
one
get a
thing.
reading on that? I feel like it's got to be like
Yeah.
birds, like right? Like I feel like a pet bird maybe.
Birds, I mean hamsters have to be
Hamsters,
pretty up there.
fish.
Um, Snakes, fish, like any of that stuff seems way more popular than ferrets to me.
Yeah, I need a ruling. Please tell me you're looking this up right now because we
No.
need to call this person out immediately
All right, hold on. I wasn't, but now I will. Hold on.
for her perceived cruelty against what just seems like her favorite animal. Like
Okay.
looks so insane.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So in the United States, this is according to ChatGPT, so don't come at me, ferret people, all right? In the United States, cats, dogs consistently rank as the most popular pets, followed by freshwater fish.
Here we
I
go.
mean, small animals, I guess, could include ferrets and birds.
Yeah, so they don't really distinct, but the point is,
But okay, no,
it's
hold on.
coming
They do.
under.
They go into more detail. Small
Okay,
animals such as rabbits, hamsters, and guinea pigs, right, which we
okay,
all thought were.
yep.
There's no way ferrets are the third
Are
most popular
yeah,
household pet.
no
There's
way.
just
They
no way.
like if you're tracking less than freshwater fish, like come on, you don't have a leg to stand on.
Yeah, I just, man, I don't know. I'm like blown away that I didn't see this coming because Harry Potter nerds are like maybe only after Star Wars nerds in their like absolute inability to allow for anything other than the world that exists in their head to exist on screen. You know what I mean?
They
Like,
and they also do the classic. gatekeeping of their own franchise where they ostracize the fucking creator of the franchise out from the group.
Yeah, I mean that's also true. Yeah, but I'm just like all of you have dreamed about being in Hufflepuff for the last 5 years or Ravenclaw, and you've picked out your dorm room practically at Hogwarts, and then you're mad when like this amazing director makes a really good movie because it's not like your comfy, fun little like fandom that you've created. It's so stupid.
Like, I can't believe they would kill precious little creatures.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and also like, come on, Buckbeat's got to eat something, right? What do you want him to eat?
All right, they just want to eat twigs and seeds.
Like, they wouldn't have been able to execute Buckbeak if this guy was in charge. He would have starved to death already.
Buckbeak is this regal creature that only lets the best of the best approach him, and you think he's gonna eat sap? Like,
Right, right. Like, I don't know if you saw Buckbeak's like buys, dude, but he's not on a plant diet.
yeah, right.
Like, there's
He
no
ain't, he ain't getting those wings eating tofu. Like, that just ain't happening.
exactly.
We got one last one star here, and they finish with Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban was a terrific book, but Alfonso Cuarón's direction of the movie was atrocious.
I
There was,
hate all of
yeah,
them. I
there
hate
was
every last one of them, dude.
no Harry Potter feel to it at all. Everything good from the first two movies was ruined in this ridiculous excuse for a film. The lighting, the acting, the sequences were all wrong. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm all for expressing liberties, but for a series like Harry Potter, the movie should follow the book as much as possible because the books are life. Chris Columbus understood this. And I don't know why he resigned, but he needs to come back and direct the fourth one, or else this series may very well be doomed.
Yeah, this guy's an idiot, for lack of a better word.
Bad news for you, buddy.
Yeah. Because again, like, and we're going to talk about this when we get into our thoughts on the movie, because I have a lot to say about it. But the reason Christopher Columbus, quote unquote, resigned, because I do not think that's what happened at all, right? I think that Chris Columbus is the perfect guy to make the first two of these movies. But I think that maybe for the first time on this show ever, I'm going to give some studio executives some credit for realizing we don't want to see a whimsical like the tone and the visuals and the overall feel of the Chris Columbus movies cannot exist when Harry Potter is 18. Like they just can't. Like
Well,
they
even with just like
cannot.
the dark stuff he has to do in the later books just wouldn't
Right.
coalesce with that at
Right.
all.
And again, like this is what we've talked about in every one of these episodes where we were little kids when the first two came out. And, the movies are a great example of it. We're starting to get to the point where the first two Harry Potter movies probably aren't movies we're super interested in seeing in theaters. If they were like as whimsical and goofy and kid friendly, we probably wouldn't like them when we saw them at 15 and 16 and 17 years old, right? Like, it's something that as a movie franchise and as a book franchise, it has to answer for is that your audience is getting older and the content of this is getting more serious and it's getting darker. So, like, how does Chris Columbus make Prisoner of Azkaban? I don't see it. You know what I mean?
And I mean, also for a series this long, it makes sense to switch it up and experiment and try new directors. Like this would
Right.
start to feel stale. And it's no disrespect to Chris Columbus because he's a phenomenal director.
No,
But
he is. He
yeah,
is. Yeah.
but
And
it's
I
it
mean,
was
I
smart.
gave the first one 5 stars. I thought it was a spectacular movie. It's
Yeah.
like one of the best movies we've done on this show, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
but it was smart to switch up the director and try something new and explore as Harry starts to get older and we start to get into darker themes. And I think that's something Chris Columbus even probably recognized also. I'm sure he also was like, I shouldn't do all seven of these. Like, that's a dumb move. Like,
Right.
I'm sure he was like, had a lot of input in not only like stepping down, but also probably helping them pick like a successor.
Yeah. Or I mean, like what I probably think happened, and what makes the most sense to me is they like maybe spoke to him really briefly and they were like, look, we're trying to go in this different direction, and he's like, I'm probably not a good fit for that, and they were probably like, yeah, we don't think so either, good talk. Like, you know what I mean, like, and then that was the end of it. Like, I don't know that it was ever going to be a thing he did, was direct the third Harry Potter movie. And maybe we should have looked a little bit more into the lore of this, but it just makes perfect sense to me that they moved on, and it makes perfect sense to me that, like you said, he probably wouldn't have even been interested in continuing.
To do all seven, like that's an insane tall order. That's like over a decade of your life that you're just dedicating to this one thing.
Well, and I mean, like, if Harry Potter was like, you know, like a magic anime girl, and he was always going to be 10, he might have signed on for it. You know what I mean? Like, but that's just not the reality of the movies they were going to make. Like, it never was, and it
He
was never
doesn't.
the reality of the books either. Like, all these people clutching their pearls over like the books and how it was changing. It's like, yeah, I don't know, like when the next book, the last book doesn't come out until like 2007, 2008, right?
We
Yeah,
were
and it's like,
we were seniors when it came out.
yeah, it's like, do you guys realize what's gonna happen by the end of this? Because I don't think you do at this point. Like, it's gonna be way darker by the time this gets done.
Yeah. I mean, even with this book, it gets way darker. Like you're dealing with the dude breaking out of Azkaban who like murdered 13 people and is apparently coming now to murder Harry. Like
Yeah,
it's not this like invisible force anymore that's trying to come back to life in Voldemort. Like you got a legit psychopath who's like on the
right,
run now. Like
right. So I don't know. I just like I'm disappointed by our 1-star reviews. Maybe I know you said they're not as crazy, but I think they're maybe the most pathetic in my opinion.
no, I would agree with pathetic. When I say like not as crazy, I mean in the sense of us seeing the people that are wishing death upon other people. But
No,
they're
right.
definitely
They
pathetic in the
did
sense that they just feel so childish. Like they're just people that,
right.
like you said, are clutching their pearls where I can't accept that this adaptation of this book would be any different than I'll allow it to be.
Right, exactly. And
It's
I mean, like, they did throw some pot shots at the director, but they didn't quite, like, say that we should, like, bury him 10 feet underground in acid. So I guess
they're
that's
mostly,
something.
yeah, they're mostly just like he did a terrible job, which is an insane thing to say of Alfonso Cuarón, who is like an immensely talented director. It's like, let's see what movie you make, asshole. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
it's ridiculous. And then we'll go to the other end of the spectrum here, and we'll hit our 10 stars. And they write, just an aside, too old to play Harry? Give me a break. In a world in which Olivia Newton-John and John Travolta play high school seniors, some people find a 14-year-old playing a 13-year-old too hard to swallow. Hogwash. Lady, who thought that? Like,
I don't know.
I don't
Well,
think I ever saw that anywhere ever.
none of our 1-star reviews said it, but it does sound kind of in the same vein, where, like, they're just upset that the little kid in, like, the robes that are too big is growing up, you know?
Yeah, it's insane. And then she finishes after that with, "Stay for the end credits. They're fun to watch. They're fun to watch. Nice touch, even if you don't know a gaffer from a best boy."
What?
Fantastic review. Thank you, lady. Just excellent insight into this movie.
Yeah,
They're like, why do I
really,
think this is a
really
10-star
amazing.
movie? Because I think a 14-year-old can play a 13-year-old, and I thought the credits were neat. Like,
Yeah, that's
amazing.
true. I love how it was also like they like were like they obviously did watch the credits because they were like picking out like really specific jobs from them, but at the same time they're like, yeah, I don't know what any of that means.
They're like, I'm a good boy, but am I the best boy?
The best boy. I don't know. I think they should get a grip.
Oh, nice. I see what you did there, guy. You got our next person here, and they write, "This is the best of the three Potter movies. Cuaron leaves out unimportant details and completely concentrates on the story. The Dursley sequence is filmed like an independent movie, while the scenes with Sirius appears the first time as a wolf seems to be part of a suspense horror movie. There are no special effects other than necessary. I don't even want to know what George Lucas would have done with this movie. Jesus, guy, what was with the pot shots?
Cut to George Lucas being like, "What the hell did I do?"
Oh, like fucking Jesus Christ, dude. He goes, the greatest attraction of the movie is David Thewlis as Professor Lupin. Already my lock for best supporting actor for the Oscar. All right, guy. The soundtrack is another Williams masterpiece. Curon even makes references to Titanic and The Hulk, a brilliant movie. Jim, when was there a reference to The Hulk?
Do you mean Ang Lee's Hulk?
Well, there's no other Hulk movie existing at this point in time.
Because if I remember correctly, that movie is not called The Hulk. I believe it's just titled Hulk.
Actually, it's called Ang Lee's Hulk. Like, let's be real
Yeah.
here.
Um,
So
no,
many
I don't.
wild takes in this. Like, Jesus, guy.
What would the reference to the Hulk even be? I mean, I guess he's talking about the werewolf, right? Like when he changes.
I guess, but like that's so fucking loose to be like I could say that about any movie with a change in it. Like,
Like, yeah, it's not like werewolves are like this fresh new idea since
yeah,
Ang Lee's Hulk came out. Like,
yeah.
it's
Like there was an
like,
American Werewolf in London. There was fucking Van Helsing a month ago. Like, what are you talking
right,
about, guy? Like,
right. The Titanic, I don't know. You got me. I don't know
yeah,
what the hell they're talking about the Titanic.
no idea there. This guy expecting an Oscar nom for Professor Lupin is a wild take.
I'm gonna give you a little bit of a spoiler here. He was on to something with an Oscar nomination. I will not say for what.
It's yeah. Well, I could tell you for a fact it ain't for Professor Lupin.
I mean, I'm not gonna confirm nor deny. I'm just gonna say something that that person mentioned
Lupin
did
might
get an Oscar nod.
Lupin might get an MTV nod, but he ain't getting no Oscar supporting nod. Well,
I
that's
mean,
for goddamn
he's a,
sure.
he's a bit old for an MTV nod. Let's be realistic here.
Yeah, and then freaking taking a pot shot at Lucas. Like, geez, guy, they can't help
Yeah, still
themselves.
don't know what George Lucas had anything to do with it, but
We got our next person here, and they write one thing goes without saying. This was much better than the first two. The adaptation from the book to the movie was done perfectly, and the three main actors did much better. Some other great movies I've seen this year are Passion of the Christ, Troy, Eternal Sunshine, The Day After Tomorrow, Kill Bill 2, Shrek 2, but this movie beats them all. This is by far the best movie of the year. I thought everything about this movie was excellent, and the part that I enjoyed most was that when Hermione didn't have class, she'd be walking around with the coolest clothes ever, like a light jeans with a belt and a pink button down shirt with a cool pattern on it. Not to mention her hair looked pretty good.
yeah, I mean, they're also tapping into something that like for one thing, that person's a total mark. They seem to like every movie that came out in 2004. Like, I definitely don't agree with a lot of that. But they're also tapping into something that I feel a little bit more comfortable saying with how old I was when this movie came out. But like Emma Watson, like if we were coming of age, Emma Watson was coming of age at the same time as we were, you know what I mean?
Listen,
It's
dude,
like
I'm
I
I'm
like
not gonna lie. I remember us watching that movie and being like, Hermione Granger's starting to fill out, baby. Like, and I'm here for
yeah, right. Which again, I don't necessarily think when I watch it now, right? Because
it.
I'm like
No,
an adult. But when I
but
was like 14, like
yeah,
that, yeah, like
yeah,
that's exactly what I was
yeah.
thinking, you know?
We
So
were
like,
we were 14 in 2004, so like we were right there concurrent with her. Like she was coming of age, we were coming of age. Like it was it
yeah,
was it was a time to be alive.
right. And like that review definitely is hitting on that. Yeah,
Her hair did look pretty good.
it did. Although from the back, I'm not so sure.
We got our last 10-star reviewer here, Jim. And they write, I can't believe I've seen a better movie at 10:30 at night that kept me up. Sure, it's darker than the first two, and sure, Dumbledore isn't the same, but it's still awesome, and it rocked my socks right back on. Dude, that sentence makes zero sense.
There seemed to be a real lack of punctuation going on there. I don't know if that was
Yeah,
just how you were reading it,
I,
but
my God, no, that's exactly how he wrote it. Yeah,
and like who I've never heard somebody say rocked my socks right back
yeah,
on.
yeah.
Like
And he
like
continues.
why were they off? Shouldn't the
Yeah,
movie rock your socks off? Like
I don't know. But he continues. I would hope you'd stop reading this and see the movie for the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th time. Great movie. This movie let us see how the school is with the third year of their schooling. I see.
I mean, as the IMDb logline told us, that is correct. Yeah, they're onto something there.
I sound like I'm 10, but I'm not. I'm a man.
Something men are famous for saying, yeah. That's something men, you can really tell somebody's a man when they're like, listen, I know I sound like I'm not, like I'm a little kid, but I'm a man.
No, I've
It's
written this
like,
like I have the intelligence of a fourth grade reading level. But
Yeah.
I'm a man, baby.
Dude, you know what that one part specifically just reminded me of? You remember in BoJack Horseman, Vincent Adult Man?
Uh,
When he was always like, just another long day down at the business factory. Like that's what it sounded like a kid trying to prove to you that he's a man.
just trying to sound so adult for himself. Oh my God. Well, kid, I guess you got there, but maybe work on that sentence structure and maybe we'll believe you a little bit better.
Yeah, I mean he cooked more than most of our reviews though. Like you should go see this movie a bunch of times.
Yeah, he had to spell out every single one there for us.
Yeah.
But I guess it's now time to turn our attention over to us, Jim. Do you think this movie is so horrible of its victimizing of the dead ferret society? Or does it more fall in line with this is so good you have to pretend to be an older adult to prove to everybody just how good this movie is?
So I'm definitely a lot closer to the to the pretending to be an adult to tell you it's good, but I don't quite need to go that far,
Now that you're at
right?
30, now that you're in your 30s, you're gonna pretend to be a 60-year-old man to tell people how good it is.
Yeah, because I don't know if you know this about me, TJ, but I'm a man, all right? Like,
I'm 100% the man.
yeah, I just got off my long shift at the business factory. I've been, I've been, I've been doing man things all day.
Not working with my hand.
No, no, but I really like this movie, and I'm gonna get into what I've said a couple times is gonna be a theme of this episode right off the bat, right? Which is that I think Alfonso Cuarón does a pretty incredible job of something that needs to happen for this franchise to end up being as successful as it is, which is he moves it away from being a kids movie and he doesn't ever lose like any of the things that make it distinctly Harry Potter. If you look at like I mean with the benefit of hindsight, right? If you look at all 8 of the movies as a whole and maybe a little bit less in the last couple, but he doesn't ever lose like those Harry Potter beats where they're like going to class, you know what I mean? And like today we're learning about boggarts, like that kind of stuff, like which is pretty prominent in all 3 of these movies. But he makes so many visual decisions that I think really like are the only way this works for as long as it does and as much as it does in the long run, which is like for one thing, they stop wearing the robes so much, and even when they are wearing the robes, like they look just like any old British school children in any show or movie you've ever seen, right? Like they start wearing these like sharp dress shirts and ties and like they're like some of them have their robes like slung over their shoulders as they're walking to class because they're outside. Like it all looks like very sleek and very modern, which I think as you're getting out of like this movie being about little kids is important. You know what I mean? I think it needs to happen.
Well, it's interesting that you bring that up because that's actually something I was reading about that all of that and like this is something that is right here to prove to those one stars that they are completely wrong on Alfonso Cuarón is
Yeah.
all of that stuff is thanks to him. Like they
Yeah.
have that unique individuality starting to show up about them because he would take the time to work with the child actors and let them build their character and how their character would wear their robes and anything else, like how they saw fit. So
Sure.
it you could see as how now as the child actors are starting to get older, he's putting the agency on them to take ownership of these characters that they're going to be playing over these years. One of the
Yeah.
things that I read that I found hilarious was that when he came in, the first thing he did was tell Daniel Radcliffe, Emma Watson, and Rupert Grint that he wanted them to write an essay from their character's perspective of like how they discovered the magical world and like have lived their life built up to going to Hogwarts. And true to their characters, he said that, Emma Watson wrote like a 10-page paper, Daniel
Yeah.
Radcliffe wrote like a 2-page paper, and Rupert Grint just didn't write one. And when they were like, why didn't you write one? He was like, why the fuck would Ron write one? And then Alfonso was like, this guy gets it. He
This
was
guy,
like,
this guy, 10 stars. This
so
guy.
like it shows that Alfonso Cuarón was the perfect guy to help transition this into what you're saying to become a much more dramatical and adult fare while still maintaining all those elements of a young adult franchise that this is known to be. So
Right.
I think he, like you said, he does an absolute stellar job with bringing this into maturing as we mature, like you said before.
Yeah, and I mean, like we brought up Chris Columbus a lot earlier. You know, Chris Columbus is the perfect guy to kind of like wrangle the young children version of Daniel Radcliffe and Emma Watson and get the kind of like whimsical childish reactions you need out of them for the first movie especially. And I can't think of anybody better. Like it maybe is like the biggest stroke of genius. I can't think of anybody better to get like the artsiness out of it than Alfonso Cuarón. You know what I mean?
For that
Like
time,
as these
absolutely.
right, as these kids are getting older and like their ability to do exactly what you just said he asked them to do is the only way this works. You know what I mean? It's the only way that you make 8 of these movies and they're as good as they can be for the whole time over a decade, you know? Like those kids need to go from being child actors who can say their lines on time and like give big smiles and be like, whoa, to like actual legitimate like dramatic actors, you know what I mean?
Actors who
And
can like deliver pathos and stuff like that.
right, and who can feel real, you know what I mean? And like again, I don't think there's any better guy to have done it. And no, this is not taking anything away from Chris Columbus, but I don't know that he's the guy to do it, you know?
Yeah.
And it's also like kudos to Alfonso Cuarón for realizing like I don't know if they knew it at the time that they casted these kids, but you have like legitimate stars, like legitimate people in Daniel Radcliffe and Emma Watson. And I'm not quite gonna go that far with Rupert Grint, right? But you know, so like those are also the right people to give that responsibility to. You know what I mean? Like they take it and they run with it. And like, they're some of the better actors we've seen in our generation, at least I think.
I mean, it also helps for them, especially that while they're growing up on this set, they have some of the biggest and best actors to learn from. Like
True. Yeah.
they
True.
had Richard Harris as Dumbledore for 2 movies. Like they have fucking Alan Rickman. They
Who,
have
by the way, continues to crush it as Snape.
yeah.
Like,
Like in the second movie, they have Kenneth Branagh. In this movie, they have David Thewlis. They have Emma Thompson. Like they have Gary Oldman now. Like you know how much
right,
you could learn
right.
from Gary fucking Oldman. Like
Right. And so like yeah, like all of that stuff makes perfect sense to me. And like beyond just like what he was doing with the kids and like the aesthetics of their clothes, like I think a couple of the 1-star reviews hit on this. Like the color palette of this movie is very different, right? Like it is much darker. It is more gray. It is like kind of in this weird like tealish gray blue kind of combo,
I
which
don't
is
think you
very
see.
different.
Yeah, I don't think you see the sun shine like once in this movie.
Right. And that's like, again, I think that's important because this movie series isn't going to be about whimsical kids having fun anymore. You know what I mean? Like, basically, going forward, things are going to get serious, black, real fast. and,
You sack
and,
of wine.
yeah. And like it needs to happen, like it should be getting darker. And like again, it does. Like the color palette's darker. Um, there's like all kinds of like visuals throughout the movie and like Hogwarts you never get those. They mentioned the establishing shots earlier too in the reviews. You never get those like big like sweeping feeling shots of Hogwarts as this like scenic castle in like the countryside of England. It's like it's a scary place in this movie. Like they do still have those big wide shots of it, but it
Yeah.
seems like it's always at night or it's always dreary when they do it. It's like this place that is not gonna be as fun and sunshiny as you thought it was, you know?
One of the things that makes me laugh every time I watch these movies is every year Dumbledore gives them like a new mode of transportation to get to Hogwarts.
Yeah.
It always cracks me up because in my head I'm always like, dude, how much money are you wasting changing this up every year? Like you put them on boats the first year, like you got them in like wagons now. Like I'm
Yeah,
like, why
yeah,
don't you
yeah,
just
yeah.
build the train station to the front door?
Yeah. Seriously, like if they can have a train station at the MetLife Stadium, they can have
Dude,
one for
they could have one.
for Hogwarts.
Every time I watch it, I always laugh because I'm just like, dude, every time they're switching it up. It's hilarious.
Yeah. What about, dude? What about the Macbeth like double double toil and trouble
Yeah,
song?
dude, the choir, man, busting out some heavy hitters, bringing the
Yeah, the
heat.
choir. Dude, you brought up Dumbledore, maybe the craziest thing that happens in this movie. And I might be jumping the gun here a little bit because I think we're going to talk about some time travel.
Okay.
Um, but when
Michael Gambon
Dumbledore.
as the new Dumbledore too. We have a new Dumbledore actor in this movie.
Oh no, yeah, and he's good. I mean, like it's almost to the point where I didn't even really notice, if I'm being
Oh
totally
no, he
honest.
he does it like fantastic to the point that you don't even like if you didn't know that that guy had died, you'd have zero idea that it switched.
Right, right. I mean, like honestly, like I remember that being a talking point, but it never crossed my mind when I watched this movie this time around,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, craziest thing of all time is when Dumbledore's like, I don't know what we're gonna do, guys. I guess you're gonna have to travel back in time and fix everything, 14-year-old kids. And like, not only does he say that, but like, if you were gonna do that, assuming that time travel is something that can have like far-reaching ramifications and that there's like serious implications for if things go wrong, would you not give people like some like more specific instructions?
He
Like,
literally just goes like, and if you're smart, you might save two innocent lives today, and then just
right,
dips. It's like, bro, what? Like a little more information? Like, what do you
right.
need?
Like he's speaking in riddles. It's like Dumbledore, I don't know, man. They're going back in time. They could easily screw this up. And like if God only knows what the ramifications of time travel are if you screw it up. And he's just like, I'm gonna give you like three riddles. Hope you figure them out. And like,
It's like deuces, have fun.
yeah, it's crazy. Totally
Now,
crazy.
I'm glad you brought that up because it's probably one of the things in this movie that I go back and forth on the entire time is them bringing in time travel to this franchise and this movie
Yeah,
because
yeah,
I say on the one hand I like that sequence of events. Like for me, from the moment they go under the Whomping Willow until the end of this movie, it's an absolute thrill ride.
yeah, yeah.
But
It's a very much a summer blockbuster, by
yeah,
the way. Yeah.
but what really throws me off, and it's something that movies tend to do, and movies like this that are long franchises tend to do too, is that there's no closing Pandora's box after you open this. And I guess the big thing becomes more implications for later on than just this movie, but they never fucking mention this thing ever again.
Yeah, it's crazy. It is. But I think that in a lot of ways, it's maybe the best way to do time travel in a movie, where you don't explain how it works, right? Because time travel doesn't, it's not real. Like if the further you get in the weeds and trying to explain it, the stupider you're going to sound,
Well,
right?
listen, Jim, it's a time travel movie, so you're going to have to justify it. That is the running thing with our time travel things. You need to explain it today.
Yeah. I mean, no. So, I mean, let's just get into it because we're talking about it, right? This movie clearly uses Back to the Future laws. Well, no, not Back to the Future laws, I guess. It's Terminator laws, I suppose, where time travel cannot change anything. It is simply destiny. Like
Yeah.
it is simply like whatever you do having changed like traveled through time, you've already done and you can't actually change anything, right?
Yeah.
That's the way they handle it, which is what I was going to say. That's the best way to handle it. Like, it doesn't make any sense, but time travel never makes any sense because it's not real. It's stupid as a concept, right? Um, but
Almost
like
like
the
it
way this
shouldn't
is,
have been introduced in this movie.
yeah, but it's again, I think it's the best way to do it. You introduce it, it adds like what we talk about a lot in these kind of like, I mean, this isn't quite an action movie, but I think the last like 45 minutes kind of are, you know? It adds the bonus movie aspect because this movie's over. Like this movie's like we figured out Peter Pettigrew, Sirius Black, like Harry, like Harry and Sirius Black survived and they've reunited. Like there's nothing left to do, and then the movie's like, by the way, there's like 25 minutes left, and it's gonna be awesome.
What?
Like,
We're going back in time. It's like,
yeah,
nah, nah.
yeah, yeah, and like I just like I can't really explain it because the movie refuses to explain it, which I think is the best way to do it. Like
Not
if
not only does the movie refuse to explain it, the characters to each other refuse to explain it. When
right,
Hermione puts the thing over Harry and they go back and Harry starts asking questions, she just ignores him the entire, like
right.
never
She's
answers
just
a
like,
single question.
Harry, we're not talking about it. We got things to do.
The
Like,
only thing she tells him is like, "This is how I've been getting to class." Like that's it.
yeah. Yeah, although she does mention that like there's something in there that is the only thing I feel like pointing out about the time travel, which is she says to him at one point, Harry, awful things have happened to wizards who screw around with time. And it's like, yeah, that's why this was a bad idea. That's why Dumbledore like telling you in like two riddles like what you needed to do. And then you guys and also you using it just to go to more classes like is so irresponsible.
It's like
Like
so insane. Like you
right,
hype that up and you've just been using it to get to class.
like Professor McGonagall and Dumbledore had a meeting at some point, and they were like, "Listen, we know time travel is dangerous, and we know that we should protect this artifact at all costs from the hands of evil. But
We also
Hermione
like
does need to take like three more classes this semester, so
but
like,
we also like rewarding our good students.
right, right,
let's let's give
like."
them a run at it and see how it goes.
Right, like the 9 credits that she gets extra from time traveling is totally worth the risk.
Yeah.
Like,
It's it's insane. And it's one of those ones where I just have to like throw my hands up and just be like, it's a movie, dude. Like, stop worrying so much. But it always bothers me that they never bring it up ever again. It's never used to do anything else when it would absolutely be beneficial later on.
yeah,
Like,
because it's dangerous, dude. There's only 2 times you can use it, and
he's
that's
like,
to get.
listen, he's like, Hermione can use it to get to class, but you absolutely cannot use it to save people in the Battle of Hogwarts at the end of this
Right, right.
series.
There
That
has
shit
to
is
be
not allowed.
consequences. Yeah. No, it is like I get what you're saying. Like it's a crazy Pandora's box to open and then just like pretend like you never opened it. But it's goes back to something that I think I say a lot on the show where like it's the perfect device for this movie. Um, and this movie plays it up in a way that kind of hints at the fact that Dumbledore kind of always knew why he was giving it to Hermione. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
including when they're at Hagrid's cabin, and which is like maybe one of my favorite like 5 minute sequences when they like hide behind the pumpkins and then they're like, oh wait, we're coming to hide behind the pumpkins. Now we have to hide in the trees.
Yeah.
Like, and then they go back to hide behind the pumpkins. But like Dumbledore knows what's going on in that scene, right? That's why he's like pointing out like all the like weird like geography and like the gardens and shit.
He
It's like
continues
they
to be
kind of
2 steps ahead, which at that point, just tell them. Like you obviously know, like help them.
right,
He's
but I
like, but if
get
they
like
don't figure it out for themselves, did they really learn? It's like, yeah, I guess,
yeah.
dude, but like, do you really want to take that to chance right now?
And if you want to take it like 5 steps further, you could get into the like these kids, we're going to be relying so heavily on these kids by the end of this. Like, not even just the end of this movie, but like the end of this whole thing. That, like, if they can't do this on their own, we're screwed anyway.
We're
You
fucked.
know what I mean?
He's
Like,
basically just like subconsciously training Harry Potter without him knowing it.
right, right, exactly. Yeah, yeah.
He's like,
So
if he
I
can't
don't
do a
know.
goddamn Patronum, like, well, what are we gonna do here? Like,
Yeah. But no, I mean, like, the time travel is definitely more like Terminator, where it seems like no matter what you do, you can't actually change anything. Like, you're just, your destiny is somehow has already included the time travel that you've already done, right?
which is
Because
just
there's
like,
never a moment where Sirius and Harry die at the
yeah,
thing. It's always that Harry saves them. So he was there the whole time, you know? Like, there was never a time when he wasn't there.
oh my head.
Yeah, right, which is why time travel is stupid, because it
Yeah,
doesn't make any sense.
yeah,
Like, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
makes zero. And just the fact that Dumbledore is just so ready to entrust in these kids to do it, which goes into my like one of my other favorite things about this movie is that in reality, like no one would send their kids to this place. Like all of the teachers are fucking insane. Like they
Yeah.
put Hagrid in charge of like training magical beasts, and he's immediately just like within 2 seconds of Harry touching the hippogriff, he's like, "Fucking fly it, man! Get out of here." just throws Harry on it, no seatbelt, nothing, and just slaps the thing on the ass and it takes off. Like,
Yeah, see, I don't know. I would argue that Hagrid took actually great care because I would say that the only people he would let on Buckbeak's back were people who like Buckbeak like respected. And at that point, Buckbeak's not letting anything happen to him. You know what I mean? Buckbeak's a champ, dude. He's a beast. He's never gonna let like he's got him. You know, like
oh,
and
listen,
Hagrid knows that because he's so good at mythical creatures. You know?
because he knows, because Buckbeak's eating all those ferrets, man. If he was eating that tofu, he wouldn't even have the energy to hold Harry up.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Just like so. Question for you.
Yeah. Let's hear it.
One of the things that happens in the beginning of this movie, and it also pops up in Hogsmeade at one point too. And I question to you a segment that I'd like to throw out here called "Is it racist or not?"
Oh boy.
The shrunken heads that speak Jamaican, racist or not to you?
Uh,
What
I
say you?
I don't think it quite gets to the level of the goblins running Gringotts Bank. I don't think it's quite on that level, but I do get what you're saying. Yeah, I do. I'm picking up what you're putting down. What about you? It sounds like that's a yes for you.
Well, I didn't have a one way or the other, but when he gets on the bus and the one pops on, he's like, "You want to go up to the leaky cauldron, man?" I was just like, "Oh boy, like that's a choice."
Yeah, I mean, like, I would say like it's kind of weird and it fits that whole sequence, but it is a little bit again, not quite the goblins running Gringotts Banks levels, but it's definitely up there. It's definitely got some hints
It's
of it.
interesting. I was because like I'm sitting there and like my first question is like, why do they need shrunken heads? Like, why does
Yeah.
why does the magical world have shrunken heads to begin with? Because then there's the ones in Hogsmeade that like keep out Ron and Hermione when they try to get into the bar, and they're
Yeah,
like,
you
"No
know
kids,
what?
man," and it's like, "Why are you guys there?" Like,
I will say that if it's like every shrunken head speaks like they're from Jamaica, you might be on to something.
it's
Like,
if it's not racist, it's at least question. I'm just asking the questions, all right? I'm not saying one way or the other if it is or not.
yeah.
It
Yeah,
just,
it's a worthwhile question, I think.
yeah.
Especially because yeah, like if there was like later on in the movie a shrunken head and it was like speaking French, I'd be like not racist.
Oh,
But
but like
but the fact that for some reason like
they
shrunken
all
heads all
speak
speak
Caribbean.
Jamaican is like kind of is a
So it's
bit
interesting.
weird.
Yeah, it's interesting. That scene too in Hogsmeade also was like the one time in the movie that I was like could feel them just designating exposition because why on earth would McGonagall and the minister have to just tell the barkeeper about Harry's like past with Sirius Black?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're not wrong, right? It seems like the kind of thing everybody would like know about, you know?
Like she's just like setting up and they're like, yeah, he's coming for Harry Potter. And she's like, what? And you're like, not here, we'll go upstairs and talk. And it's like, why are you gonna tell her anything?
Yeah, right. Right. What is Harry's not even allowed to go to Hogsmeade? What does this barmaid need to
Like, or
know?
just tell this random barmaid.
Yeah, and it's also like the news about Sirius Black is like kind of the whole point of this is that it's like gossip, right? That's like
Yeah.
infested like the whole world. So like theoretically that barkeep already knows, you know?
And like you would think that they'd have an idea, especially because if the reason he went there was for murdering a bunch of people and like Harry and like causing like Harry's parents to get murdered by Voldemort, like I feel like everyone in the wizarding world would fucking know. So as soon
Right.
as like he breaks out, they're like, yeah, no, like that's messed up, bro. Like we should catch that guy pretty quickly.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
But I guess like yeah, and I mean not to give it an olive branch, but I guess like that's a way. Obviously, we know it's a way for Harry to learn this information because like why would anybody sit Harry down and be like, "Hey, that guy killed like like why tell him anything straight to begin with? Like we're just going to tell him nothing the entire time and hope for the best."
Yeah.
The minister even does that. He's just like, "Yeah, that guy broke out. Don't worry, like we got it under control. Like you don't need to know anything about him."
Yeah, yeah. No, well, but they kind of say why he was doing that too, because they're just not trying to tell him like really what's going on, you know? Like Ron Weasley's dad like pulls him aside like a scene later and is like, "Hey, listen, here's what's really going on," you know?
I guess like I think what makes that feel so egregious of exposition for me is that for the most part in this movie, they cut out all of the exposition in this book about
Yeah.
everything.
Like
Because they're
most
like,
of it,
yeah,
yeah.
they're like they give Harry the Marauders map, and they're like, "What's that?" And they're like, "Don't fucking worry about it. We're not gonna tell you anything about it." Like, here are
Yeah.
the four dudes' names on it. Don't fucking worry about it. We're not gonna tell you a single thing about it. Like, they're like, "Oh,
Yeah.
isn't one of them like Lupin and another one like Sirius Black?" And they're like, "Don't worry about it. We're not gonna tell you any of that."
Yeah. Which I mean, like, I get why people who read the book would be upset about that, but I also think it's the right decision by the movie. Like, I think
I
like
think
this
so too.
movie's already like over 2 hours, right? And I think it's a really smart move for them because I don't think you really need any of it. Like, I think the movie's
Like
fine as is.
the who created the Marauders map and all that really doesn't matter to the story. Like you learned from the map what you needed to is that when you do this, it's going to show you where everybody is. And that's all you really need to know.
Yeah.
Like, I don't
I
need to
mean,
know that Lupin and Sirius Black and James Potter like all got together and were like, let's make this fucking map so we can go do dick things because we're dicks. Like, I don't need
right.
any. Like,
I do think that it is a good part of the book. Like I think in a book you can get away with having it, but I think in a movie it's a lot harder because like again like in a book you can just have like a paragraph or two or like even like just people thinking about something and it explains that all away, you know? I don't know that it works as well in a movie and like I think that's kind of like a big example of the kind of like the kind of stuff that needs to happen when you adapt a book. Like it's the kind of stuff you need to leave by the wayside because there's nothing really visual about it. The map itself is visual, but like you
explaining the
don't
four names
necessarily
on
need to know like all the backstory of it. Whereas in a book that's like cool lore and it's like fun to read about and it can add some intrigue to some parts where maybe it's a little bit of a lull. But like in a movie like this, there's not very much lull to be had anywhere. And again, like I think you're right on the movie side of things that that you're not really losing much by keeping it out.
it. You don't lose anything. And a book, like in a book, that's part of the charm of reading a book is that I get so much lore and you can really dive into like the thick of everything within the context of what the story is. But like you said, when you're watching a movie, you need to keep the pace moving, and nothing
Right.
is going to drag the pace down more than learning about the four names on the map. Like it's just unnecessary. I
Right.
don't need it,
Right.
and that's the beauty of adaptations. It's just like this, an adaptation of a book like that's done really well should do the same thing for you that a movie based on a true story does, which is make you want to know more. So you turn to the other medium to now learn more. Like you watch the Harry Potter movie. From that, you see that map. Hey, maybe if I read the book, I'll learn more about that map. And then you do. And the inverse is the same of everything. And in the visual medium, you get to see those big moments brought to life, but you're not being bogged down by so much of the lore unless it's like an absolute necessity to the theme of the story.
Right. I mean, the only thing you need to know in this movie is that the part when Harry says that the map's broken because Peter Pettigrew is still alive, and Lupin's like, wait, what? You know, like that's all you need, and that's
That's
still
all you
in the
need.
movie, and it comes across. And I also kind of in the same vein of what you're saying right now, I think the pacing of this movie is spectacular. Like, um, and I do want to get a little bit into story here before we move on to anything else because we talked a lot in Shrek 2, for example, of like a sequel doing like story really well. I think that this builds on the first one, similar in a way to how Chamber of Secrets does, but I think it builds on the first Harry Potter movie in the sense that like he has he's found like a home, quote unquote, by the end of the first one. And what this movie asks is like, yeah, but okay, that's a home like most of the year. But like still all the time he's going back to the Dursleys' house. And that is horrific. And that is completely detached from the reality of who his parents were, how important his parents were to him, you know, and like um they have no sense of like any of that stuff when he goes to that place to the point where he has like this evil witch of a lady coming over and like trying to get a rise out of him. And that's like one of my favorite scenes in the movie because like the whole time I'm thinking like, man, this lady's like awful. Like why is she doing all these things, right? And then when Harry finally snaps, you see the smile on her face, and it's like, oh, she's just trying to get him to snap. Like she's totally screwing with him. Like she doesn't care about him at all. she's just trying to get him to prove that he's like a piece of shit and that like comes from his parents, right? So
Love
like
that
you have
Harry.
that.
I love that in that scene, Harry has no compunction about the fact that he probably just murdered somebody.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he's definitely more worried about what he's gonna do for school, like, than he is about what happened to
Like
that
that
lady.
woman just floated off into the sky, and his first thought was like, "I'm getting out of here. This place sucks."
Yeah, yeah. Um, so yeah, no, I mean that's that I love that scene and like it sets up the stage for like really what like to me the rest of this movie is about, which is he has to like get back with his godfather. That's really like what the kind of emotional ending of this movie is. And he has to learn that Sirius Black actually cares about him and that he does still have people who knew his parents really well and respect those things that matter to him even if he doesn't know a lot about them, right? And they also do a really great job of like lacing the fear of Sirius Black like into this movie where because he doesn't show up until like at least the second half of it, but like pretty close to the end, right? Like um
He's always
but the way they
a looming presence.
right. The way they keep him on the brain and the way they kind of show you like the gossip about him and the dementors and the way him being on the loose introduces the dementors to the school and like Harry kind of has to like learn how to overcome that. Like it's all just like paced really well and like they weave in those kind of things we were talking about earlier that are like Harry Potter staples of them going to class. Like every one of those class sequences in some way or another puts the Dementors and Sirius Black back in the forefront of your brain. Even though none of them are like really in the movie at that point or doing much, like they're always kind of on your mind because every single one of those class scenes that run for like 3 to 5 minutes, like somehow incorporate them, somehow bring them into it, and somehow play off of Harry's relationship with both of them, which is it's so good.
Yeah, one of my favorite visuals that he does that keeps Sirius Black a looming presence over Harry. And it literally, at some points in the shot, has him at like over Harry's shoulder, is when Mr. Weasley is taking Harry aside in the Leaky Cauldron to like give him the lowdown on why he should be worried. And they walk off to this little corridor that has these three pillars that you could like walk between. And when
Yeah.
they're standing on the first one, you see in the foreground the magical poster of
The
Sirius,
wanted
the
poster.
wanted
Yeah, the
poster, yeah, and
wanted
him
poster.
screaming in it. And as they continue their conversation, they walk further and further down this corridor past all three pillars. And each time there's a wanted poster, and it just gets closer and closer over Harry's
Yeah.
shoulder as they're
Yeah.
going around it. And I'm like, dude, like those one-star people that are shitting on Alfonso Cuarón are morons, dude. Cause that shot is fucking masterful. That it's like as he is going to keep progressing further and further, Sirius Black's gonna get closer and closer to him. Like
Yeah.
it's so well done. Like
Yeah, yeah.
it's incredible. It's absolutely
Yeah,
incredible.
and I mean like even to the point where Sirius Black was like getting kind of close to him like before that scene. Like he shows up like in the first 5 minutes of this movie, even if we don't quite understand it yet, you know?
Yeah, no,
So yeah, I don't know. And then like you said earlier, like once he's actually in the movie, that whole sequence where they find Peter Pettigrew and they find out like the truth behind Sirius Black, and then they go through all that and the Dementors and the Expecto Patronum, and then they
yeah.
go back in time. Like all that stuff is tremendous, you know. Like it gets on like the rails. It gets on these like all gas no brakes kind of trajectory for like it's got to be like a good like 45 minutes, right?
It is, yeah, probably close to an hour, that whole like last half of that movie.
Right. Like the
Um,
Sirius Black reveal is kind of like the midpoint of the movie, which I think is such a spectacular way to do it.
yeah, no, it from that it just flies from that point. Now, Peter Pettigrew
Yeah, let's
disguised
hear it.
himself as a rat and was by Ron's side for like the last, what did they say, like 6, 7 years.
Oh God, I know exactly where you're going with this.
Did he watch Ron jerk off?
I've heard people mention this in other things, and I mean like I don't know. I mean, like, he could easily just look away, right? Although it's still
I mean,
creepy if he's
uh,
in the room
yeah,
when he's
like
doing it.
he's still in the room, regardless of where he's looking. It's uncomfortable. You're pretending to be a rat, hiding from people who want to murder you, and you're watching a small child masturbate. Like at that point, if you're not sitting there going, "Where did my life go?" Like we got problems.
I mean, here's the real thing. I think anybody asking that question, and maybe President Company excluded, because I know what you're doing. Like you're just like reading stuff online and you're trying to find something interesting people are talking about. But like, are you kind of telling on yourself a little bit? You know what I mean? Like,
Like if
did
I
you
was a
ever
rat,
think about?
you mean like if I was a
No,
rat,
I
would
mean
I
like
watch someone jerk off?
no, I mean like if you had like a hamster, for example, like what how did you handle that? Like did you just go for it and just like whatever the hamster worries about, that's his problem? You know what I
Well,
mean?
I
Like
mean, we both got dogs. Do you kick them out of the room or do you let them watch the show?
I mean in in any and all, whether there is just me or other people participating, we do not let the dog in the room, no.
Fair. Yeah, listen, I
But
try
that
to
shit, I mean, I will say though, I can only speak to my dog who would not be chill about it. So I don't know. Maybe if other people's dogs were chill about it, they wouldn't do that. I don't know.
I try to lock the door every Palm Sunday, but my dog's a smart dog.
Yeah, right. Right. So what do you do is the question.
I try to scoop her out, but if she gets in there while I'm already in the act, like I can't stop. Like
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. Yeah. So,
here's
and I mean, like a
the bigger
hamster.
question, the better
Yeah.
question. If you were Peter Pettigrew as a rat in the Weasley house, would you try and sneak in and catch Mrs. Weasley naked?
I mean, if I was Peter Pettigrew, I would say no. But if you're asking me what actual Peter Pettigrew would do, I would say he probably got a few peeks. Yeah, I would say that's right up. That's in on brand.
Sneaking his way through that house. That little bastard.
Yeah, and God only knows what he was doing at Hogwarts, dude. Like, I mean,
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
like,
Like Harry caught him in the middle of the night, like just sneaking around, like God knows where he was going.
right. That's what I'm saying. Like,
He's
maybe
like, dude,
there's
I
like
heard
a kind of like a Porky situation going on
Peter
here.
Pettigrew was running around going like, I heard there's someone called Moaning Myrtle here. I gotta see what that's about.
Yeah. What's she moaning about? I'm just curious.
He's like running back. He's like, it wasn't as cool as they thought it was.
There's since you mentioned Moaning Myrtle, there's like a real Moaning Myrtle moment in this movie where somebody just steals the show, even though they're kind of like a smaller part. The picture lady who like is singing the opera trying to break the
Right.
glass in the beginning of the movie, I lose it every time. She like smashes it against the wall and is just like with just my voice. Like it's like the funniest part of the movie every time for me. It cracks me up.
Do you have anything that doesn't quite work for you? I know we've been kind of singing praises here. Um,
No, I mean, I might be giving kind of, I might be kind of giving away the end of this episode away, but I really can't think of anything about this movie that just like totally turns me off. I think it's really well thought out, really well done, and like all of it works together to create kind of an end product that, again, to this point, I think is the best Harry Potter movie, and I've seen most of the rest of them. Previously, I would have said it was my favorite. I'm kind of keeping an open mind for as we go through these because I'm sure you've seen all these, right?
yeah. Yeah, you give up after Goblet of Fire, right?
I didn't see them for a very long time. I stopped seeing them in theaters after Goblet of Fire because I thought Goblet of Fire was like hot garbage compared to this movie.
Yes.
Uh, and then I eventually watched all of them in like a weekend, which we can talk about when we get up to more
When
of
we get
that
up to
stuff.
those. Yeah. Can you imagine going to school and your principal telling you that these undead cops are going to just be like running roughshod over the school and to stay out of their way because they won't if you get in their way, they'll just fucking kill you.
Yeah, the Dementors are kind of an interesting thing because, like, my first thought when I was watching it this time was like, it's insane that these exist and they like let these things be prison guards. Like,
But then
but
they'll
then
also just be like, yeah, come hang out at the school.
yeah, I think what the movie kind of shows off really well is that the reason you can let them be prison guards is because if you have a wand and you're like a legit wizard, like it's pretty easy to kind of incapacitate them, you know? I think where it takes a real left turn is they're like, we're gonna let them wander around the school where kids don't know how to use that spell yet. Like
Not like
that's where I
just
would
him,
imagine cooler heads should prevail, you know?
but like
But
just him telling his students stay out of their way because they won't like that if you get in the way of whatever they're doing, they won't stop. Like they'll fucking
yeah,
kill. You. Like
yeah.
is such an insane take. Like,
Yeah, well, no, and again, that makes sense in like most other places because, like, in most other places, you can just be like, expecto patronum, and then they're like stopped. They can't do anything to you, you know? But when you're talking about like, there's like a lot of little kids around who don't know how to do that, it's like, it's kind of like if you put like Navy SEALs with PTSD to guard like every elementary school. It's like at some point before there, we should probably like think twice about what we're doing here, you know?
we've made a lot of wrong steps here. So, but that's part of the course for Dumbledore. He continues to like make that place the most like unsafe school on the planet.
Well, I don't know if it was up to him is kind of I think the vibe that the movie was given across. Like the Ministry of Magic was trying to catch Sirius Black. And so I think it was something, I mean, they never really explicitly say, but the way I took it was like they were on such a like breakneck pace to try and catch this guy and they were so convinced he was going after Harry Potter that they were like, "Listen, Dumbledore, this is happening whether you like it or not." You know, like
Oh, and Dumbledore, I'm surprised they didn't be like, let's just lay a trap. Like, we'll throw Harry out there, like, put him around a couple
yeah,
of
right.
dementors.
Yeah. I mean, he kind of did in a lot of ways.
Oh man, that's funny. But yeah, I think other than that, I don't really have that much else to say on this bad boy.
Yeah, I think I'm about out of stuff too, if I'm being honest.
All right, so let me briefly hear some quick awards.
Yeah, some quick awards because we've been at this for a while, I think at this point. It is nominated for 2 Oscars.
2 Oscars. Does it win
As
any?
I mentioned earlier, there is going to be a callback here. It's nominated first for Best Achievement in Visual Effects,
All right, that tracks.
which for the Oscars at least, I think I want to go through like who they were nominated against and like potentially lost to because it is nominated. It didn't win, right?
Yeah. Well, didn't we? I would imagine because I didn't. I think. Well, no, Passion didn't get nominated.
Was Van
Visual
Helsing
effects.
nominated?
Yeah, 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 totally.
So there's 3 movies nominated for Best Achievement in Visual Effects, and none of them are what you were thinking, I promise you.
Like,
The 2 nominees, we talked about Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, obviously. I, Robot is nominated,
come on.
and the eventual winner, which is a movie that I don't know if we're doing, but man, I hope we're doing. And if we're not doing, I'm picking it. The eventual winner, Spider-Man 2.
And we will be doing Spider-Man too.
Nice.
Rest
Yeah.
easy.
Good, good. Sam Raimi's crowning achievement, I would say.
Dude, like you have those 2 movies and then you're like, let's nominate I, Robot. Like, what are we doing?
I mean, it was a time. I mean, like the visual effects in Harry Potter weren't great either, if I'm being honest. Like
I don't
the
know.
werewolf looked.
Buckbeak looks pretty goddamn good.
Buckbeak looks good, and the Dementors are terrifying, right?
Yeah.
But the one place I would say they went really south was the werewolf. The werewolf was not believable.
Listen,
Like
they spent all
compared to
their
the
money.
stuff in Van Helsing, for example, like it
Yeah.
was not. Like I was sitting there saying, like, man, if Van Helsing could do this, like, why couldn't they do it? Like this
I
movie
think
would
it
have
was
been
more
even better if they had
I think it
that.
was more probably that was the choice that they went with to have the werewolf look like that more than they didn't have like the ability to do something better.
Yeah, I guess so. I can't imagine why that would have been the choice because he looked like I don't know. It looked kind of lame in my opinion.
Hmm.
The other nomination, which is what I teased a little bit earlier, it
Okay.
was nominated for Best Achievement in Music, written for
Yeah.
motion pictures.
John
Best
Williams,
Original
baby.
Score, I think, is the shorthand for this.
Yeah. Mr. Williams.
Also nominated Passion of the Christ,
Oh boy. There we
The
go.
Village, which is like a total curveball.
All right.
Uh, a series of unfortunate events, the Jim Carrey
Okay.
vehicle.
Yeah.
Harry Potter, which we talked about, and then the eventual winner, Finding Neverland.
Okay.
And then I'm gonna like scroll through these really quick. I looked a little bit earlier. There didn't seem much else worth talking about.
It doesn't sound like anything really. It'd be up for your like classic ones that we've approached in teen and MTV. Nothing really worth diving into.
There's only one. I will say it. One choice movie drama for the Teen Choice Awards.
Good for
Uh,
that.
and then Peter Pettigrew was nominated for choice movie Sleazebag,
Yeah, get
which
that
not
sleaze
bad, not
bag.
bad. I think they're on point there.
Well,
And
yeah,
then yeah,
especially
there's
if he's sneaking around Hogwarts watching people change. Absolute sleaze bag.
right. That's what I mean. We're kind of supposing there, but I think we're probably not too far off. I think we're on to
Did
something.
you see what that human version of him looked like? That guy was looking through peepholes.
Yeah, he looked like a rat, which was the funniest part. I don't know if that was like part of just like the transformation taking too long to get back to normal, but yeah. And I think that's really it for awards. And then I mean, we could talk about Alfonso Cuarón, but I'm sure he'll come up again at
Oh
some
yeah, we'll
point.
come across him again already, and we've already talked ad nauseum in this one here. I think we're good to just queue up our boy Ebert and dive into some star ratings.
Yeah. Good call on Ebert being here, by the way.
I'm Roger Ebert. Been a scene from the best film of the decade. This is a great film.
All
Do
right.
you think Raj thinks this is a great film?
I have a feeling that Raj liked this, although Raj has been on a pretty bad streak for
Yeah,
us.
we have not been in line
He
with Raj
gave
the last few
he gave a
episodes.
couple of movies that I think are kind of dog water, pretty high scores, so I'm interested to see.
You want to take a guess?
I'm gonna say he gave this 3.
Three? Close. He gave it 3.5 out of 4.
Nice. I was gonna say 3.5, but I thought
He
that might
said
be a little high.
the film was not quite as good as the first two, but it is still delightful, amusing, and sophisticated.
Okay.
So there you go. From
Also,
Raj.
apologies if you heard my phone ringing in there. We can read that again if you want.
I did not hear your phone read, so your
Okay.
phone read. I did not hear that phone read. I heard
In
me
that
ring.
case, cut that part out.
I will not.
I will not.
All right, Jim, let's hear it. Final thoughts, final ratings for Harry Potter 2.
Yeah, I mean, so this is an interesting
Is he
one for
doing
me
it? Is he doing it?
because I think it's very different than the original movie. And I think it doesn't quite make me feel the same way the original movie does, right? Like the original movie like does something that I think is pretty incredible, which is it like takes me back to my childhood, right? Like it like when I watch it as an adult, I feel like a little kid again. And there's not a lot of movies I can say that about. Um, with that said, I think that this movie is really well put together, and I think that story-wise, it's tremendous. I think that all the visual stuff we were saying and what it achieves over the course of a decade is like hard to like. Again, I don't know that this whole series works without the work Alfonso Cuarón does in this movie. So I am gonna give The Prisoner of Azkaban 5 out of 5 stars. I think it is a
Oh,
absolutely tremendous movie. Like it is so well put together and it is so like tonally and visually cohesive. Like I can't give it anything else.
man, a fiver from Big Jim.
Yeah, I'm
Just for the
doing it.
record, people, he gave Gladiator 4.5.
I know, which that's not a reason to not give Prisoner of Azkaban a 5. It's just maybe a mistake I made about Gladiator.
3 on Castaway also.
Yeah,
Just to
also a mistake on
put
Castaway.
a,
I'll admit that wholeheartedly because I will still say that Castaway is the movie that we've done that like just like the chances of me thinking about a movie we've done on like a random Tuesday, it's like 90% that it's Castaway. Like I still think about that movie where I'm like, man, like it's I'm just still chewing on it.
Oh man. All right. So a fiver from Jim, which would add one to you unless I give one to keep the deficit. But I'm actually gonna go just underneath you, Jim. I don't know that for me this is quite a fiver all timer for me. I'm gonna go with a 4. that I'm going to
Okay.
get for this movie. I do think this movie is all of the things that you said. This is a whopping achievement, especially in the Harry Potter movies. This absolutely is a fantastic transition from the more childlike to the now more dramatic and mature. But it still doesn't quite hit there for me. For me, even though I do love that whole thrilling at the end, the time travel thing just kind of just off puts me just enough to keep me outside from really going for a full fiver on this one.
Yeah, and
But
that makes sense. That makes sense. The thing I would say for me, like, I get where you're coming from, but it's just too fun, like, for me to, like, knock any points off for it. Like, it works so well in this movie, and, like, that whole, like, 15 or 20-minute sequence where they're back in time and it's just Harry and Hermione is, like, to me, it's, like, the best part of the movie, so I have a hard time, like, knocking any points off for it. But I do understand why you
that's
would,
fair.
you know?
Yeah.
It's not to
Uh,
take anything away from your score.
I'm not taking away anything from yours. So with a fiver from Jim and a four from me, it's going to give us an overall score of a nine. And we got two other movies that have a nine right now. So
Okay.
let's do some battles. So, Jim, do you take Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, or do you take 2002's Spider-Man?
Oh, man. I am gonna take Prisoner of Azkaban.
I know you were going to because you gave that one a four. I, however, I'm going to take Spider-Man because I gave Spider-Man a five. So we're flip flopped on that one.
Yeah. I do think
So
it's close though. I think part of what knocks Spider-Man down for me is like it's not Spider-Man 2, if that makes sense.
you love going to that well.
Yeah.
No, I get it. I don't knock anything from you for taking that one over that one. The other movie it would do battle with ahead of Spider-Man is now really this one's really a battle for you, Jim. Is do
Okay.
you take Prisoner of Azkaban or do you take Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone?
I'm taking the Sorcerer's Stone, and that's really hard for me to
Ooh,
do, but
yeah.
I think the Sorcerer's Stone might be the perfect Harry Potter movie. I don't know that any of them are ever going to beat it, and like it's not something I would have thought before we started doing this show, but after watching it for this show, like I was blown away for that first movie, and it like honestly might be like in my top five, like out of all the movies. So yeah,
All
I
right.
do think Prisoner of Azkaban is great and it is worthy of 5 stars. I still am gonna take Sorcerer's Stone though.
Fair. That's fair. All right. So Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban then is going to break it into the top 10. It's going to sit in that number 10 spot with Spider-Man, both getting nines right behind the Sorcerer's Stone, but ahead of Chicago's 8.5. So the top 10 is really rounded out with some elite movies. We got two Harry Potter movies in there, all three Lord of the Rings movies, Titanic, a Pirates movie, Gladiator, Finding Nemo, and a Spider-Man. So that's a bevy of top tier movies right there.
Yeah, yeah. There's some cream of the crop out of like all the movies we've done, even though sometimes it feels like every week we do like awful things that I don't like.
Very true. And now also the deficit on the five-star ratings is now shrunk to only a one lead. I've got eight movies that I've given a five-star to, and you now have seven movies. So and for the most part, we're pretty much aligned. There's only
Wait, say
two.
that one more time?
So for five-star movies that we've given five stars to, I've
Yeah.
given eight movies five stars. You've given seven movies now five stars.
I've given 7 movies 5 stars.
You have. Would you like me to read them to you?
Yeah, I kind of would.
Okay, so we'll do it in order from obviously from the first one on. So you've given Titanic, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, The Fellowship of the Ring, The Two Towers, Curse of the Black Pearl, Return of the King, and now Prisoner of Azkaban.
Okay. Oh yeah, that's fair because there's been 3 Lord of the Rings movies. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
So you gave all
Keep
three Lord
going.
of the
Yeah.
Rings, two Harry Potters, a Pirates, and a Titanic. So
Yeah, those all track. Yeah.
those are your seven. Whereas on my side, I've done Titanic, Gladiator, Fellowship, Spider-Man, The Two Towers, Finding Nemo, Curse of the Black Pearl, and Return of the King.
Yeah, that's fair. What was the, did we agree on most of those? What was the one that you gave that I didn't?
The one that was Finding Nemo.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
But we both agreed on all three Lord of the Rings. We both
Yeah.
agreed on Pirates, and we both agreed on Titanic. So
Right.
there's
And then
only
I think I gave the first Harry Potter one when you didn't, and then
yeah,
this one, right?
yeah. And then
Yeah.
you gave both Harry Potters, and I didn't give both Harry Potters. I instead did Gladiator and Spider-Man.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
So I'm one up. So the question now is, can do we tie it up somewhere, or am I going to keep my one lead here? Am I
Well,
gonna?
until
Am
we
I?
tie it up, I'm gonna keep saying that you are fast and loose with your 5 stars, and that it is borderline
Listen,
irresponsible, sir.
for 72 movies, the fact that we're both still like under 10 is
Yeah, I
I
mean,
would
like
say we're pretty I think we're pretty in line with what we only give five really to the like the top quality that touches us.
yeah, I think we're both kind of like I'm a little bit under 10% and you're a little bit over 10%, but they're still pretty close. Yeah.
We're pretty close, but we know what to save them for. We're not giving it out for any old movie. Like
Yeah, that makes sense.
I'm not really loving Super Troopers and throwing a fiver on that one. Like no one's doing anything crazy like that.
Yeah, totally.
So we got that there. Now we're not taking a guess for next week because you guessed it already. We are doing the family classic known as Garfield. Bill Murray is the titular character. So yeah, we're leaving the
Can't
land
wait.
of good movies, and we're gonna touch on some crap for a second.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I've never seen Garfield, but I will say I've been working on a negative version of the Ebert drop, and I have a feeling that it's going to make its debut on the next episode. Time will tell.
I don't know. We'll have to see if this can get the coveted Doctor Doolittle award.
It might. It might. Honestly, Garfield is like, at face value, is a prime candidate for it. So
There we
we'll
go.
see
Listen,
if I end up liking it or not.
I'm just happy to hear that you're going there with an open mind. So
Always.
that's all we can
Always.
hope for there. Now before we send the people home, what was the last thing you jammed on?
Um, I'm trying to think. Movie wise, I haven't really watched a lot recently. I talked about Severance last week.
You did.
Uh, I've been jamming on like Supernatural. Like me and my girlfriend have been going
Oh,
through
yeah.
Supernatural,
Yep,
which has
that's something.
been
All right.
I love the first like 5 seasons of Supernatural, and it's been quite the uphill battle to get my girlfriend to watch it. Do you want to guess why?
Why?
Because my girlfriend loves Gilmore Girls, and to the
Okay.
point where she watches like
Oh, she hates the one dude because he broke Rory's heart.
no, she doesn't hate him because he broke Rory's heart. It's much sillier than that.
Okay.
His name in Gilmore Girls is Dean. And
He's
in
Sam in Supernatural.
Supernatural, he's named Sam, but his
The
brother
brother
is
is
named
Dean.
Dean. And she can't get past it. She brings it up every time we watch it. Like, and I'm like, no, it's okay. Like, it's just fine. Like, they're not real
Oh,
people. Like, his name's
oh my
just
God.
Sam in this show. But she's watched Gilmore Girls so many
Amazing.
times through. And I mean, like, probably like from beginning to end, she's watched Gilmore Girls a dozen times since we've started doing this podcast.
Amazing.
Like, yeah. And so,
Absolutely
like,
amazing.
it's just like that person is not like whatever Jared Palecki or whatever his stupid name is. He's literally just Dean. So when she sees him in something else, it's like she can't handle it. Like she's like, why are
Amazing.
they calling that other guy Dean? Like,
You should just picture him as Dean and Dean then. They're just like a law
right,
they're like a law firm. The
right.
law firm of Dean and
But
Dean.
but we're slowly but surely getting through Supernatural. We've been dating for 3 years and we just watched episode like 13. So
That's such a hilarious reason. I love that. It's
yeah.
absolutely incredible. I have an update for you. I
Ooh.
must say to you, Jim, I don't. You must be commended. I don't know how you made it through the Twilight movies without making jokes.
Oh my God, they're so horrendous, right?
So I only have one more left to watch. Last night we finished Breaking Dawn Part One, and it might have been the closest I've ever come to like actually wanting to slit my wrists. Like it's probably the closest I've come to suicide in my life.
They
Like
get
it's
so much worse as they go on, too.
yeah,
Yeah.
dude, it's unbelievable how bad that was. And the fact that they break it into two parts. So the part one is literally just like I'm pregnant. Like and it's just like I hate I it was awful. Also that
Wait,
movie has to be a Republican's wet dream, right? Breaking Dawn Part 1. Like they must fucking love that movie.
Yeah, they're like, you're gonna have that baby even if it's demon vampire spawn.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Because like that one person's like, we gotta cut that fetus out. And the other girl's like, say it what it is, a baby. And I'm like,
yeah, yeah. That it's very much like Republicans wear shoes too. I don't know if you're familiar with that quote, but that's like a Michael Jordan quote where he was like, "Listen, I'm not taking any political stances because my job is to sell Air Jordans, baby."
he's
Like,
like, listen, their money's just as good.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
But yeah, the whole time I'm watching that movie, I'm like, this movie is fucking insane. And also like brutally boring at the same time. I was like, how
yeah.
can a movie be so nuts, but also bore me to fucking death? Like,
It's horrible. Yeah, it's horrible. Have you watched both of them yet? Is my
no.
question.
So the part two, I have the last one still to watch. And
Okay,
then I'm
so
done. Then I'm done.
remind me, the baby born by part
Yes.
one?
So at the end of part one, the baby is born, and Jacob is like, I'm gonna fucking kill that baby. And then he takes one look at the baby and pictures
Yes.
like his entire life with this child,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then
yeah.
is like,
That's
yeah, and then imprints on her, and I'm like, Jesus
yes.
Christ, man, like,
That's what I was talking about in the last episode, where like Jacob like decides that that like newborn infant is his wife. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, it's a little weird, Twilight. I
I
don't know.
I called that like halfway through watching the movie. I said to Heather, I was like, this fucking dude's gonna imprint on the baby, isn't he? So that the wolves can't touch it. Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, good call, first of all, but like how
utterly
I mean
insane.
in terms of red flags, it's like it's I don't know, it's like the Albania of like flags. It's like there's so much red.
But just like
Like
the fact that like he sees like the kid like grow up like to being a full-fledged adult, and he's like, nice. Like it's like,
yeah, it's kind of like what I would imagine like I don't know, a lot of creepy guys think. You know, like
no.
it's like kind of mind-blowing that that was in like a major movie franchise and people just kind of let it go. You know?
Just how anybody was able to say any of these lines with a straight face like blows my mind. Like when Jacob at the beginning is like getting mad because they're like gonna have sex on their honeymoon. Like he's like, that's what you're gonna do on your honeymoon. It's like, Jesus
Yeah.
Christ, dude. Like,
Well,
how is
dude,
this a movie?
because Jacob is like the incel king, dude. He's like, he's like, how dare you want anyone but me,
Yeah,
lady?
dude.
I'm so good to you. Like,
And like he had me in the second one. It was like, dude, you're better than that, man. Like you don't need her. Like fuck that girl. She wants to go get with vampires, bro. Like fuck her. But then he spends the
yeah,
rest of the movie just being like, no, you want me, Bella. Like you're in love with me. It was like, dear fucking Christ.
yeah. He was not bad up in like when he lost out and he was like, I'm not going to their wedding. I was like, okay, Jacob, that's legit. Yeah, like you're onto something. Like now just move on with your life.
He
Like,
just shows up outside of it like Stag, and it's like, dude, come on, man. Like you're making it so hard, bro. Like
yeah, yeah.
I I will say Eclipse had probably my favorite scene in the entire franchise, which
Okay.
is Robert Pattinson has to bring Bella up to like a mountain to hide her from Victoria, but a
Uh-huh.
snowstorm happens. So like they're in their tent and she's like freezing to death in the tent, and Jacob shows up with no shirt on because his core temperature is like 1,000,000 degrees. So like Robert Pattinson just has to sit there and let Jacob get into the tent and into the sleeping bag with Bella so that she
Yeah,
can like
yeah.
curl up against them to get heat, and they're just like raw dogging each other. Like I fucking died.
Yeah, and Jacob like is gonna use that as ammo later, where he's like,
Yes.
he would have let you freeze to death. I was there to keep you warm. How you gonna be with him?
Just like he's like he crawls in, he's like he's like, it's all right, Edward, I get it. I am hotter than you. And I was like, Jesus Christ.
I mean, right. How are you supposed to not make fun of that? Like, you can't
So,
take
so,
that seriously.
yeah,
They're
so
not
like
even
yeah.
taking it seriously. Like,
So like all respect to you for being able to make it through those movies without making jokes, because I don't think I made it through 1 second of that movie without making a joke.
I mean, listen, I'll say one thing for it. I did it, but it wasn't with a smile on my face. Like, I was like writing notes in my phone. Like, I was waiting for this moment because, like, it's so bad.
You were just like the dude in Get Out, just like falling back from your brain so you can just scream internally for like
Yeah,
3 hours.
exactly. Right. I disassociated. Like I just stopped paying attention. I was like, I'm gonna pretend like I'm anywhere but here, you know?
Which may be the best way to make it through those movies because they are atrocious.
No, the best way would have been watching them with you and tearing them to shreds the
Oh
whole
yeah,
time.
yeah. Okay.
Like,
Also
that would
really
have been
good
the best way.
because I had a lot of good heavy hitting jokes throughout these movies while we
Yeah,
were
I'm
watching
sure.
them.
How does Heather feel about those, by the way? She has to think they're stupid, right?
Yeah, she understands that they are like very schlocky and ridiculous. But like since she saw them as like a young high school girl, the like nostalgia is heavy on those movies.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
fair. Right.
yeah,
She was like the target audience. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So like I get it. I get why you like those movies. Like you were the prime age for that movie to do its work on you. So like it
Mhm.
makes sense. I've got plenty of shitty movies from when I grew up as a kid that the nostalgia hits hard for me and I
Yeah.
recognize that they're shitty. So like
Looking
everyone's
at
got
you, Sin City.
yeah. Everyone's got them. So we've all got that shitty movie that is imprinted on us like Jacob imprinted on a baby.
On that literal baby.
Yeah. So those are those movies. So go out, check out these movies for yourselves, form your own opinions. Make sure you join with us next week when we dive into Bill Murray's classic that is Garfield. And as always, we'll see you at the movies.